Stuck in negative patterns with your spouse? This is what one couple in Intimacy Mastery had to say. Our communication had broken down. Through the monthly workshops and coaching, we learned to address issues constructively using our Intimacy Mastery roadmap. Don't wait. Visit intimacymastery.com.
From Naples, Florida, this is the One Extraordinary Marriage Show, where being busy is overdone, romancing is fun, and scheduling sex is taking the guesswork out of wondering when you're going to get some. I'm Tony DeLorenzo, your co-host, along with my beautiful wife, Elisa. From coast to coast and around the world, thank you for joining us. It's time to talk sex, love, and commitment. Give us a call or text us on the Hug Hotline at 858-876-5663 or send us an email to hugs@oneextraordinarymarriage.com. In this episode, we're talking about feeling as if your actions are not good enough when your spouse suggests working on an area of the marriage.
There's a quote from Manson that says, "Some days you'll be productive, some days you won't. Some days you'll be healthy and energized, some days you won't. But every day, you can control whether you show up or not." And I think as we're talking about the actions in marriage and your reactions and all of that, the one thing that you can control is whether you show up or not. We're going to be digging into that in today's episode. But first, we start every episode with a hug. And a hug is an opportunity to celebrate your breakthroughs, your transformation, the insights that you have in your marriage. And this hug comes from a post that was in Intimacy Mastery the morning after the last live workshop. This couple said, "After sitting in last night's group session, we both left grateful and choked up. It was such an incredible gift to see so many familiar faces and feel so connected. This Intimacy Mastery is incredible in itself, but to be surrounded by couples that are invested, real, and intentional about an extraordinary marriage is simply a God wink. There is not one couple we would not reach out to for guidance." Then to top it off, to have the leaders say us too and candidly speak from the place of constant growth themselves. Marriage done in a community of those that believe it can be extraordinary is uplifting. And then to have the practical tools to implement this, well, we're still in tears. We know what needs to be done to create connection and the extraordinary, but doing it alongside this group is the accountability piece we need. We are grateful and say thank you.
Oh, that's awesome. I love our Intimacy Mastery folks. And, you know, you've heard us talk about Intimacy Mastery. If you'd love to join in with us, because we're the leaders of that amazing group and 70 plus other couples, we'd love to have you join us. Go check out intimacymastery.com and come join us. Come join the community where we get real, we get honest, we get deep into talking about podcasts and the resources we're dumping for you and dropping for you, so that way you can strengthen your 6 pillars of intimacy.
And this whole episode actually came out of a question that was posted in Intimacy Mastery. And I read the question. I thought, you know, this is something the whole one family needs to hear about, needs to talk about. And this was how it was posed inside the group. It said, "We have been working on emotional intimacy, and I think it's going pretty well so far. However, I seem to be in a pattern on focusing how to change, and it seems to be received as what we have isn't good enough. How do I approach these conversations without making it seem like it's not good enough? I feel like I'm always pushing, and that doesn't seem fair for either of us." And I read that question, and there was a phrase in there that really popped out at me. And it's a phrase that I've heard in coaching, and it is the phrase, "not good enough." I hear it in a lot of my coaching sessions, and it'll take on generally like one or two varieties. It's either, why is what I'm doing not good enough, or I'm not good enough. So it's either the action or the person that phrasing can internalize around. And, you know, when that happens, then there starts to become this dynamic within the marriage. And I think the spouse kind of refers to it as, well, now I don't want to approach things. So now I start to feel like I'm walking on eggshells because I don't want my spouse to feel like they're not good enough, but I still want to address some of these areas. And to be quite honest, been there, done that in our own marriage, right? We've been in these places. And quite honestly, it's also happened in probably every single pillar of the 6 pillars of intimacy in our own marriage. And I know some of you are brand new to the One Extraordinary Marriage Show. And first of all, Tony and I want to say welcome to you if this is your first time listening, but that also means you probably have no idea what the 6 pillars of intimacy are. And so just a quick, I'm just going to run through the 6 super fast. It's emotional, physical intimacy, which is non-sexual, financial, spiritual, recreational, and sexual. And all of those, when they are strengthening, work together to create an extraordinary marriage. But also, all of those can have spots and places where you feel like, wow, what I'm doing, It's not good enough right now. It's not good enough for my spouse. It's not good enough. Like, we're having these conversations and I don't feel like my actions are good enough.
Yeah. So there's two of you listening here. The one who is like, wow, we need to make some changes in our marriage. And I need to make changes in myself. You know, that's what we call our what can I do in the book, The 6 Pillars of Intimacy. And then there's a what can we do? And many a times the person who is looking to have the extraordinary marriage, diving in, is the one asking somebody who's probably not listening. Or you may be listening right now because your spouse said, hey, you need to listen to this, and so we can have a better marriage. But you're thinking to yourself, well, aren't we good right now? Mm-hmm. And you might be sitting here going like, that's me, because I feel like my spouse, my husband, my wife keeps wanting better or more. And are we not good enough right now?
Mm-hmm. And, this can show up in a lot of different ways. Tony and I have been married over 28 years now. And, there have been times where, even on the last 15 years of this podcast, where there have been conversations around not being good enough when it comes to how we touch each other or lack of touch, not being good enough when, it comes to discussing emotional intimacy or praying together or the connection we have, not being good enough in providing parenting or handling money, not good enough in the bedroom in social settings or in new circumstances, not good enough.
And that goes both ways. And that has gone in different times and in different places, as Elisa said, all the pillars of intimacy. Mm-hmm. There have been times when I'm writing Elisa, and I will say this, like, what's going on? Like, we need to do this, or we need to be moving forward. And I'm going to just say this, just who we are, like how God made us, I tend to be the one, like...
Meaning how God made Tony and Elisa.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Made us, like you and I. Like, intrinsically, I love to be like, all right, let's go, let's do stuff, let's see something, let's even in us, in our marriage, like you go all the way back to the 60-day sex challenge.
That was Tony.
That was me. For those of you who don't know, that's episode 1. You can go all the way back, listen to episode 1. It's still here for you, and there have been times, though, too, where Elisa has said those things to me. Mm-hmm. And I've been like, I'm good. We're fine. Why do we need to do anything more? We're living the life we always wanted. So this can go back and forth. Maybe in your marriage, it might be a 90-10 right now. Mm-hmm. 90% you're pushing your spouse, and 10%, you're like getting it a little bbit from them. But it can go both in ways, in different seasons, different places, different areas, even in your 6 pillars.
And I just want to, I actually, just in preparation for this episode too, was like, okay, what does this sound like when, if we look at each one of the 6 pillars? And just, like, great. I'm just going to give some phrases or statements that I've heard in coaching, in intimacy mastery, things like that, where, this might be what it sounds like. This is not the only statement around it. Your spouse might say something else, or you might be saying something else. But, when it comes to emotional intimacy, like, I'd like us to talk more about our feelings. Right? You don't share enough with me. You don't tell me your feelings, is kind of how that conversation goes. I wish that you would touch me, when we're out, when we're in the car, when we're sitting next to each other on the couch. I wish you would even sit next to me on the couch, mm-hmm. right? When we're in the same room. It would be nice if we could set up a regular money meeting, right? I'd like to know what's going on with our finances, when it comes to spiritual intimacy. I wish that we could pray together more often. That is something that, recently Tony and I have been talking about very candidly on this show. I'd love it if we could date more regularly, right? I wish we could spend more time together doing fun things. It would be nice if I wasn't the only one to initiate sex. Why are you looking at me with your eyebrow going up?
Just, that's a wonderful one to land on.
Would you like to say something?
No, I think that's one. More recently, one that we've been talking about, and you and I have been talking about a little bit, and I've been bringing it up, like, hey, like, we have our intimacy lifestyle. Hey, like, we're doing this, and it's becoming this one-sided initiating again. And and there can be some friction. There can be some resistance to that. On your side, this is on your side, I'm saying. On my side, it's the, hey, like, if we're going to continue to do this and we've committed to this, then what does it look like? And I know for yourself is probably like, is the sex we're having not good enough? Like, it's really good. So what's the problem, Tony?
Well, and I think that, you bring up a couple of things just in that, little monologue that you did there is, what's the resistance? What are the thoughts that your spouse is having? Because, it can feel like what you're doing, if those phrases start coming out or some variation on that, it can feel like what you're doing is not good enough. And I had to sit, and because I've been on both sides of that phrasing or of those thoughts, excuse me, and start to go, okay, well, what if the intention isn't to say you're not good enough or your actions aren't good enough? What if the desire is, how do we create an extraordinary marriage? What is extraordinary for the two of us? And I want to be real clear here. When the two of you are deciding what is an extraordinary marriage for you, it is not Tony and Elisa's extraordinary marriage. It is not your neighbor's 2 doors down extraordinary marriage. It is not some celebrity on TV's extraordinary marriage. It is your extraordinary marriage. And I think sometimes where couples get tripped up here is that they've never actually defined what's going to be our extraordinary marriage in this season. What is it right now? And how are we defining this? And so, instead of being in this place of going, hey, push, pull, or this tug of war, what's the vision, right? How do we catch that vision? And what are those past cycles that haven't worked for us? Because a lot of couples, when they get to this point in coaching, when this phrasing gets uttered, it's that there's been so many past patterns of dysfunction or of hurt or of resentment. And we're stepping into something new, but we're still looking at all of those, it's kind of like we all talk about the baggage that we have. Well, this is kind of like when you come home for a trip and your suitcases are thrown open and there's stuff everywhere. That's kind of what it looks like. And you're in that place of looking at all that stuff, but trying to like get on with your life and move forward. And it's this push-pull instead of saying, hey, what if where we're at, what if these actions like, hey, you know what, we're dealing with this sexually or emotionally or physically or financially. What if we just need to recapture what our vision is for an extraordinary marriage and figure out how we work together to make that happen and step into that place? And that's something that we need to talk about after this break.
You know what makes every outfit look better? The right bra from Third Love. Their bras make it easy to get ultimate cleavage, a smooth look, or even stop your shirt buttons from pulling. They make over 60 sizes, including half cups you won't find anywhere else. So you'll find your perfect fit. Third Love solves bra problems, or what they call brablems. Real women test every style they make. Comfort and support are guaranteed. So stop settling for bad bras. You deserve better. Get your problem solved today. Save $15 on your first order with code PODCAST15 at thirdlove.com.
If you've been a listener of this show for any length of time, you know sleep is something we've struggled with. Whether it's my insomnia or the pain in Tony's shoulder, there have been lots of sleepless nights in our bedroom. Now, thanks to our Helix memory foam mattress topper, we are both sleeping so well. It's nice to wake up and actually feel like it's a good morning. Helix offers a range of specialized 3-inch toppers to meet your unique sleep preference. Our favorite is the luxury foam. Go to helixsleep.com/one for 27% off site-wide plus free bedding bundle. That's a sheet set and mattress protector with any Luxe or Elite mattress order. That's exclusive for listeners of the One Extraordinary Marriage Show. That's helixsleep.com/one for 27% off site-wide plus the free bedding bundle, the sheet set, and the mattress protector with any Luxe or Elite mattress order. helixsleep.com/one. And if you get a post-checkout survey, please let them know One Extraordinary Marriage sent you. We're back, and we're talking about what to do when something that your spouse says creates that feeling in you that what you're doing is not enough.
I want to say something here, though, too.
Say it.
Elisa talked about the vision. What's your extraordinary marriage? And it's okay, and I want to say this. It is okay when you get to that point, whatever that is for you guys, wherever you're at. And yes, you may have some cracks here and there, But let's say you're 80% there. It's okay to sit in that and be like, this is awesome. Mm-hmm. And it's something I've had to learn to do personally over the last few years of just going like, we can just sit in this and enjoy it. Now, is everything perfect? No. Are we living our extraordinary marriage? Absolutely. And one way I can say that I've been able to enjoy this is when Elisa and I go out on trips, marriage getaway cruise, hanging out with friends, doing whatever. Years and years ago, I was always reading some sort of nonfiction book. How do I get better? How does our marriage get better? What do I need to do? What does Elisa need to do? To a point of I can sit and bask in the sun and just enjoy the time we're having together. Mm-hmm. And that even happens here at home. That can even be here when going out on a date. It isn't a date where it's like, oh, we need to talk about the pillars and how are we growing, or it's just like, how are you doing, Elisa? What's going on with you? Let's pick up Monopoly Deal and let's just play. And so I do want to say it is okay to sit in a place when you get to that point to be like, we're good. Like we're living the life we wanted, something we dreamed about 5, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. It's okay to live in that place too for some time.
And going from that place of, hey, here's where we are. Like you can choose to reframe going from a place of, hey, we need to improve this area, we need to address the cracks in this pillar, to the spirit of collaboration, where you step into this place of saying, hey, what's the vision for our future and not the problem with the past, right? What do we want to start accomplishing? Not where have we, been super dysfunctional in the past? Like, where are we going? It's so often what I tell my coaching clients, I'm like, I'm more concerned with where you are today and where you're going than what the past has been. And I think in marriage too, when we're getting to this place of not feeling good enough, well, we might see that it's this tug of war and I'm trying to improve you or I'm trying to be improved, right? Instead of saying, hey, collaboratively, what do we want for our marriage? And that is going to take different roles, right? There may be those times when one is more of a driver and one is more of the passenger. Mm-hmm. But if you're operating out of a shared vision and from a place of collaboration, how are we going to, there might be a season where one of you is doing 80% and the other is doing 20%, but if you're collaborating on it, that's still 100%, right? And stepping into that place of collaboration. Another thing, and I see this so often with my coaching clients, is that there can be those trigger phrases that make you immediately roll your eyes or shut down. If you're on the receiving end of it, you're like, oh, great, here it comes. Here it comes. It might be something like, I'd like us to. And you're just like, yeah, I stopped listening the moment you said, I'd like us. Because that's like the royal us. It's kind of the royal we, right? I'd like us to have more conversations. Translation, you need to talk to me more. And your spouse is like, yeah, I don't want to talk about it. Or you never. Or you always. Like some of those phrases immediately shut down your spouse, make them feel like they're not good enough and that all of their actions on the other side of that are like worthless. Instead of, how do we step into a place of deeper communication? How do we get comfortable as a couple being in this place of shared physical intimacy? How do we both initiate when it comes to, that type of thing? Stepping into this place where it's not all about you, it's about us. There's a reason where in the 6 Pillars of Intimacy book that the chapters around each pillar that focused on each pillar, the first section was what can I do, right? Because we look at ourselves before we look at anybody else. And then what can we do? Mm-hmm. It starts with what are my actions when I'm showing up, and then how am I bringing that to the table, and what are we doing together? Another thing too is don't blindside.
Can I say one thing here? There's a lot of nuance, and I'm going to share this. And so if you're in a place where you guys are stuck and you're like, what are we doing? And we keep hitting a wall, you may want to look at marriage coaching. And I'm going to say this for the reason that you're not broken. You're not messed up. You just need some tools in your marriage toolbox to help you along. And so if you're in a place like that, I just want to say this. There's no obligation apply for marriage coaching. You go to oneextraordinarymarriage.com/coaching. Sometimes we need somebody. And even if your spouse isn't ready, sometimes you need a new tool in your toolbox to help you to approach your spouse. Because get it, got it. There are times when you're all on board and your spouse has nothing to do. So you're listening to this right now and you're like, yeah, but Tony and Elisa. Yeah, but. Oh, I hear that, but my spouse. Get it. We've been there ourselves. We've walked these walks before. It's not like we're sitting here high and like, oh, we've never had these issues. You better believe there have been times when I've gone up to Elisa and said, I'd like us too. And I could see Elisa's eyes roll back in her head. And so we've been there. We've experienced this ourselves. And so don't get stuck in going, well, that's not us right now. Get the help. Seek it out. Learn. Grow. Marriage is a journey. This is a multiple... These conversations, these discussions of not feeling good enough can come up many a times throughout your marriage. It's not a one and done.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think one of the things that helps a lot of the couples in intimacy mastery is they're using their roadmap.
Absolutely.
Right. And because another aspect of this is, hey, instead of we need to fix our marriage, or this is, where the issue is, so many of them are really targeting, and this is another strategy, is just targeting a specific intimacy pillar.
Absolutely.
Right. And so instead of being like, oh, well, we need to do emotional, and we need to do financial, and we need to do recreational, and we need, and you're like, I can't focus. I don't know what needs attention if you're saying everything needs attention. When you get into that specific pillar that you're working on, then giving it your attention and intention actually allows you to move forward there. Mm-hmm. And so and that's where the intimacy
mastery roadmap.
Thank you. I was like intimacy roadmap mastery, and that was all backwards in my head. But that roadmap allows you to go, okay, what are we just going to do for the first 30 days? Yeah. What are those small steps? And this is the next part of this. What are those small steps that are going to change the patterns? Right? So if you're in this place where it feels like everything is, one-sided or whatnot, it's going, okay, hey, I want to set aside time, and I'd love you to bring just one baby step. Mm-hmm. Like we've identified we're working on our emotional intimacy. I'd like to set up a time. You schedule it. Everybody knows it's on the calendar. You both show up for it. And it's like, hey, I'd like us to both bring one baby step that we'd like to do for the next week. Now it's not, well, I'm going to tell you what you have to do, or I'm going to tell you how you have to show up. It's, well, no, your spouse may come and say, I'd like to do a conversation starter 2 nights this week. It might be out of Connect like you did when you first met, 101 proven questions for couples. It might be a deck of conversation cards. And what I want to say is when your spouse comes, especially if you're the driver, when your spouse comes with their baby step, whatever it is, if they come with an action, you celebrate that. That's
right.
Because if you don't celebrate it and you're like, well, that's not good enough. You've just told them it's not good enough, people.
You just reinforced it.
You just reinforced it. They may need to develop their confidence to break through those feelings of inadequacy, or those feelings of shame, or the feeling of fear, or the feeling of failure that they might be sitting in. And you're cheerleading, and that's exactly what it is. You're cheerleading your encouragement, your positive attitude of, okay, I asked them to come with a baby step. They came with a baby step. Yay. And then you guys take it to the next step and you do whatever the baby steps are. You don't leave it in this place of just going, well, yeah, that's not what I was expecting you to come out with. Well, here's the deal. They're not you. They're not you. It's like when Tony brought up the sexual intimacy and initiating. And what I love is, so he brings this up. But last week, no joke, I literally walked into, he was working, and I literally walked into his work area, and I'm just like, are you ready? And he was just like, whoa, what just happened?
And what had happened is Elisa literally just walked out of our bedroom into my work area naked, which was game on. She's initiating. So absolutely kudos to this wonderful wife of mine going, I hear you. It's not the way I would do it personally.
Right. He wants it totally different. His expectation is different.
Right. But what she did was awesome. I can appreciate that. We've had these discussions. And so, but we still work on it. I still can forget that, even though she did it. You know what I'm saying? And so that is the journey of marriage. And when your spouse is, and this is what I would love to share here. When you're bringing something up and your spouse is, and you can see it, that they feel dejected. They feel like, I'm not worthy. I'm not good enough for you. Can I just say this? We can tell you all these things and go blah, 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 this, that, and the other. Go to your spouse. Go hug them. Go tell them you love them. Go reinforce why you married them. Like, just grab their hand, look in their eyes, give them a kiss. We forget sometimes. We want the grandeur. We want everything to be one. Like, just love them. And I've even found it in my own life and in my own marriage at times. Like, let me just hug Elisa. Because we can all be a little critical of our spouse. We can see their faults. We can see what they're not doing the way we would want them to. And yet we forget our own. And maybe in that moment, maybe we just grab them, bring them in tight, maybe throw some music on, do a little dancing. Even if you're not big dancers, not that Elisa and I are. But you know what? One of the things I know I can do is just grab a chair, especially when she loves to just be laying out in the sun, here in our Florida sunshine, and just grabbing a chair and being out there with her. I'll let her know, like, that's not something I would have done years and years ago. That wasn't me. That was all Elisa. And I've come around to just go, you know what? If it means I get to be with you, around you, and we can have some conversations that ebb and flow because we're just allowing ourselves to live our marriage, I think more times than not, we'll come away going, we're pretty darn awesome. Individually and together. Elisa.
It's one of those things. We all, and I am going to say all, at some point in time in marriage, wrestle with these feelings. And it's something that needs to be discussed. But more importantly, it's an opportunity for connection and growth.
That's it.
It's an opportunity to say, what can we do? And how do we get a vision and implement the vision that we have for our extraordinary marriage?
Yeah, I couldn't say it any better. When we started this episode, there's a way we were going to go and think about it. But at the end of the day, how do you guys get close and connected? What is it going to do so that neither of you feel like you're not good enough? Mm-hmm. But together, you are a vibrant, extraordinary marriage. And so think about that this week. And if you have those feelings of not feeling good enough, maybe it is you going after your spouse and saying, hey, this is why, this is where I don't feel good enough. And if you're the one who's pushing, maybe it's your opportunity to just grab your spouse and tell them how much you love them and that they are good enough. Wherever you're at on that spectrum, go out there and do it this week. We'd love to see you guys join us here at Intimacy Mastery. So go check that out at intimacymastery.com. We'd love to introduce you to the amazing couples there. You guys have yourselves a fantastic week. We'll catch you next week. Love you guys. Thank you for listening to the One Extraordinary Marriage Show. If you love this podcast, please leave a review on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you are listening. Your review helps others find the show and know that it's the right fit for them and their marriage.